Hi, Pocket. In Monster Hunter Wilds, when there are no weapons, there's only Slinger, only throwing knife, only mission objective. Clear Zoh Shia without doing any damage with a weapon. Hunters have 14 distinct weapons to choose from, but every hunter has a Slinger, no choice for that. It's used to fire off pods and grab items from afar, typically finding more use as a utility tool, while the hunter's weapon itself takes on the main stage job of damage output. That doesn't mean there aren't damaging pods scattered around the maps that can be picked up, but these are very limited in supply and on long cooldowns. For consistent damage output, there's only a single, horribly low damage option with the Slinger, the throwing knife, which hunters can fire endlessly, but agonizingly slowly. But the Slinger isn't the only way a hunter can deal damage without their weapons. There's poison smoke bombs and barrel bombs, the latter of which can be buffed by Bombardier for 30% more damage. The damage of barrel bombs is already fantastic, so obviously, given enough barrel bombs, any monster will go down. That's no question. At that point, it's more a question of quantity than anything else. At that finding, I set my first of what would be 3 conditions. Condition number 1. Do not bring any items. This includes the power charm and armor charm, all my potions, and barrel bombs. For this hunt, I set out to battle Zoh Shia with nothing but my Slinger, my Palico, and the clothes on my back. What better opportunity to test the Palico rally build as promised at the end of the Little Challenger build video. After equipping my Palico with the Zoh Shia weapon for high damage and elemental bonuses, I set out. I'd forgotten to upgrade my armor from the default levels, so I realized early on that if anything hit me, it hurt me. Alongside this, the damage output of the Slinger was pretty pitiful. During the early phase, if I managed to break Zoh Shia's wings, I could get a couple shots of 8 damage, and that was good when I got it. Oh, those are juicy 8s, aren't they? There are 4 different little nodes scattered around Zoh Shia's little battlefield. 2 Thunder Crysts for 5 Thunder Pods each, and 2 Wormsbane for 5 Dragon Pods each. These 20 pods respawn every 10 minutes, and if fired into Zoh Shia, they'll deal tons more damage than an ordinary throwing knife. At first, I thought that if I fired them directly at Zoh Shia as quick as possible, I'd maximize my output. But then I learned a breathtaking trick. If I fired into one of Zoh Shia's crystal formations that appear during a number of its attacks, the element of the pod is channeled into the crystal for a massive explosion of damage. This explosion can cause a chain reaction if more crystals are nearby, which means sometimes a single pod can get multiple blasts. Gotta be quick though, cause any movement through these crystals from Zoh Shia and they'll just shatter. Instead of dealing 8 damage to the arm, when these pods were available, I was dealing hundreds of damage with a single pod, often shattering parts and occasionally getting my hands on one of the strong piercing, slashing, and blunt pods that can drop from the monster itself. With my Palico's healing, constant damage output, and this explosive technique, I managed to do it. Zoh Shia with only the Slinger and my trusty Palico. What pride I felt at such an uncertain achievement. I had wondered if such a triumph was even possible without items. But there was something there. Something present. In my moment of victory, that spoke to me in a noiseless word, and with an arrogant, indolent smirk. Okay, I get it. Condition 2. Do not bring your Palico. Surely that'd be enough, right? Not having my Palico would certainly put a damper on my healing, and I'd lose the safety net of the Vigor Wasp revival giving me a free life, as well as the breathers I'd get when Zoh Shia targeted them instead of me. If I lost health, it was permanent. I did some research with the Slinger to see if there were any weapon skills that might give a boost to the throwing knife's damage. I tested attack up and affinity, but throwing knives can't crit, so no dice. I tested all the gunner skills, normal piercing spread shots, rapid tetrad opening, nothing. Punishing and critical draw unsurprisingly fruitless. Mind's Eye didn't help, and focus, special ammo boost, and load shells did nothing for the Slinger. In Rise, there was a Dango Hurler meal that increased the damage of that game's throwing knife. But in Wilds, no such thing exists. But I wasn't out of options in my theory crafting. Maybe I'd bring the Zoh Shia set bonus for super recovery so I could regenerate my health if I ever took damage. And I'd have a ton of defense. Dragon resistance wasn't great in that set, but if I chose 4 pieces wisely and then my 5th piece offered more elemental resistance, it could even out. And food buffs always give some elemental resistance, so that helps. Just at that moment, my mind was racing with ideas, ways to work around this new restriction, hardly considering whether or not I'd even have enough damage. But then, another message in my brain. Fine. Condition 3. Do it naked. Stripped bare, alone, unarmed, unarmored, without a single item in my pockets, much less a single pocket, mind you, I ventured to Zoh Shia. There'd be no healing, no defense, nothing but me, my slinger, and a massive winged guardian with 3 phases and the biggest health bar in the game. I'd have to be smart, so I made a plan in that moment. With those 20 pods, every 10 minutes being my main source of damage, I'd have to make the most of them with the crystal explosions. I couldn't afford to miss too many or else I might run out of time. I immediately gathered them up so the spawning piles could get to work, and was careful not to waste them. None of that to mention, if I got swept by a strong breeze, it was lights out. With minimal defense, there was no chance I was going to survive even Zoh Shia's weakest attacks. Once it got to its first fire phase, I'd be able to pull down some Shrine Rebel on it for some extra damage, but I had to make it that far to begin with. With fireballs falling from the ceiling during that phase, and then fire and lightning randomly raining during the entire final phase, I wasn't looking forward to all that chaos. Through this trial, I learned a lot about the Slinger. While it will never output the kind of damage a weapon can, raw output being the throwing knife's main disadvantage, it's not without a few incredible advantages, and I don't want to sell those short. Playing to those strengths is why I even had a chance in this challenge to begin with. Its strengths don't just apply to the throwing knife as well, but to almost all Slinger ammos. First, the effective range of the Slinger is insane. While the range itself is not infinite, there isn't any kind of fall off on the damage when it's used at longer ranges. Unlike bowguns, it doesn't matter where you shoot the monster from. As long as the knife makes impact, it will do the same amount of damage. Second, because the hunter's weapon is not drawn, the hunter can simultaneously sprint and shoot with the Slinger, making it incredibly mobile. Unless it's to regenerate stamina, the Slinger can endlessly fire while sprinting, making it effective at simply outrunning enemy attacks. This trait, combined with its massive range, makes positioning with this weapon incredibly flexible. There wasn't much margin for error, but I could put myself anywhere on the battlefield and still be effective. While I was hunting this monster, I thought about that voice, what it means, and how it frustrates me. Amongst the winners of anything, there's this trend of constantly moving the goalpost. On day 1, simply clearing a monster might be good enough. If you clear the monster, you're a winner. On day 10, everyone's clearing the monster, but the real winners can clear it in under 5 minutes. And on day 30, a 5-minute clear is okay, but did you really need traps and palicos for that? Don't get me wrong, I appreciate this competition. I love seeing how players challenge themselves and continue to push the limits of what's possible. That can craft a great environment to see players lift one another to new heights of skill and accomplishment. But I don't appreciate when that constant progression is used to put other players down, or solely to feed an ego. Originally, the winners are defined by who can simply succeed at the task, but it's like when there's too many winners, the bar of accomplishment is often steeply and carelessly raised. As people start looking for more ways to divide up the winners into high rank winners and low rank winners, then master rank winners. Now there's tiers of winners, and you're technically not even a winner unless you can reach the highest echelon and pull off the craziest thing with your hands behind your back, and even then, if it takes you too long, you're no good. I've seen this sentiment expressed with YouTube as well. In April, I hit 100 subscribers, and recently I've hit 200. My videos used to get around 30 views in a week, and now they can hit 100 or more. This is progression, and chasing goals for the sake of improvement can be fantastic. but I start to despise it when these goals become trophies or badges that are used to invalidate others or hyper-validate oneself. If you've defeated Zoh Shia, you're great. I'm not fighting Zoh Shia with these restrictions to prove that I'm better than anyone. I don't want this to be used to divide myself up as a more winning winner. I'd hate for this to be used as a trophy to somehow prove I'm a good player or to validate my opinions. I don't need that proven to anyone. The fact is, I'm doing something a bit absurd, and that's fun. It most certainly doesn't invalidate the victories that have come before me, and nothing that comes after this will spoil the joy I felt in that moment. 36 minutes and 58 seconds into the hunt, that I, unarmed, itemless, naked and alone, defeated Zoh Shia. I'll be linking an unlisted video of my clear of this challenge if you'd like to check my work. It was a relief when I defeated Zoh Shia, and learning the tricks of the throwing knife, practicing the crystal explosions, and getting really comfortable with all of Zoh Shia's attacks was a ton of fun. Spending so much time with the monster let me really learn about it and the arena. Full transparency, I did end up fainting. It wasn't a hitless run, and I took insurance and moxie from the Sild meal, so maybe that spoils the revelry of my victory for some, because it was unarmed, itemless, naked, and alone, but not unfed. Oh well. If this challenge interests you, I urge you to try it for yourself, with whichever sub-conditions you see fit, or maybe make up a new one for yourself. I cleared it on my first attempt armorless, so I'm sure the method and timings could be optimized. Playing around with the crystal mechanics was a lot of fun, so I'm sure others might enjoy it too. If anything, it's a great thing to use in combination with normal fighting. Those dragon pods can do a ton of damage, especially in a chain reaction. Fun fact, when I was initially trying this, the very first run with armor and my palico, where I first discovered the crystal explosion tech, I managed to clear Zoh Shia with less than 2 minutes left on the clock, and only realized right near the end that I wasn't recording the whole time. That was a bit sad, but no matter. I sat up, did it all again, and then again. If you liked this video and want to see more Monster Hunter things, let me know. Is there something you liked in particular? Something you disagree with? Or maybe you think Gore Magala is harder than Zoh Shia, and my accomplishment means nothing, especially because I did it with my monitor turned on and my eyes open. Let me know. Thank you for watching, fellow hunters. Good luck, and goodbye.